My name is Quinn Parker, and last week I found out my family created a secret group chat just to cut me out of the will. I wasn't supposed to see it. One quick tap while helping with a login, and suddenly, the screen lit up with the first message: Who hates her most? A second later, keep her in the dark. They weren't whispering about a coworker or some distant cousin. They meant me. My face stayed calm, but inside everything snapped. They had been planning this for months, dividing money, assigning who gets what, deciding how to handle me like I was some problem to be managed. I kept scrolling, each message sharper than the last, until I realized there wasn't a single objection from anyone. Not one person said my name with hesitation. Not one person defended me. I closed the phone quietly, set it back exactly where it was, and pretended nothing happened. If they wanted to play a secret game, they had no idea who they were playing against. The second I walked out the door, I made a promise to myself they wouldn't take anything else from me, not my share, not my dignity, not my silence. And none of them had a clue what was coming next. Before I tell you how that secret chat blew up in their faces, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss the rest, because this only gets messier from here. As soon as I closed my car door, my phone buzzed. I glanced down expecting a random notification, but the screen showed something else entirely: a silent sync alert from the Parker family cloud. I hadn't opened that shared drive in months. Habit made me tap it. One folder sat at the top, something I had never seen before: GP estate files. My initials weren't anywhere in the name, but GP could only mean one thing: Gloria Parker, my grandmother. I opened the folder. Two documents loaded instantly. The first was labeled Insurance Payout Gloria P. The second, Sale Agreement Maple Street Property. My stomach clenched. I tapped the payout file. A summary filled the screen, clearly scanned by someone who didn't think I'd ever see it. It showed the final life insurance payment tied to my grandmother's estate, $120,000. The number blinked back at me, steady and cold. I opened the second document. It was the finalized agreement for selling her old house on Maple Street, the place where we spent every Thanksgiving. I skimmed through signatures, transfer dates, and closing notes. Everything about it looked official. Everything about it told me decisions had already been made without me. A tight pressure built in my chest. The secret chat wasn't just trash talk. They weren't plotting. They were already executing. Splitting money, selling property, dividing everything the way they wanted. If the folder was here and the chat existed, then they had carved me out long before those messages were typed. Nothing about this was last minute. It was deliberate. I stared at the total again: $120,000. Not a fortune, but not nothing. Enough to start a business. Enough to pay off a loan. Enough to change someone's life. Enough for a family to decide who deserves it most. For a moment, I just sat there, gripping the steering wheel, trying to push back the heat rising in my face. If they wanted to erase me, they were already almost done. But if they thought I wouldn't notice, they had underestimated the wrong person. I needed advice, not from someone emotional, but from someone who knew how these things worked. I called the one person I trusted at work, a senior analyst named Mark Holloway, who had dealt with estate issues in his own family. He picked up on the second ring. I didn't tell him everything, just enough for him to understand the situation. He didn't hesitate. "Call Caleb Norton," he said. "Estate attorney in Cambridge. Smart. Precise. Doesn't play around." That was exactly what I needed. Mark texted me Caleb's number. I dialed it immediately. A calm, professional voice answered. "This is Caleb Norton. My family is handling an estate." I said, steadying my breath. "I need guidance about transparency and access to documents." He didn't ask for drama or details. "I can meet tomorrow morning," he replied. 9 o'clock. "Bring everything you found." It was the first time that day something finally made sense. "I'll be there," I said. I ended the call and looked at the documents one more time before locking my phone. Whatever they were planning, I was no longer watching from the sidelines. The next morning, a light rain hung over Cambridge as I walked into Caleb Norton's office and took the seat across from his desk. He didn't waste time with small talk. I opened my laptop, pulled up the Parker Family Cloud, and showed him the folder labeled GP Estate Files, then the insurance payout summary and the Maple Street sale agreement. He leaned forward, scanning each page with the kind of attention that makes people nervous in depositions, pausing only long enough to note signatures, closing language, and the total estate value $120,000. I slid over the screenshots of the group chat, the lines that mattered bold and undeniable. Caleb nodded once, closed the computer halfway with his fingertips, and said, "Let me explain how estates are supposed to work." He walked me through the basics in plain English. The executor identifies assets, notifies beneficiaries, marshals funds into an estate account, pays debts, files any necessary returns, and prepares distributions in a transparent way. Discretion exists, but it is not a blank check. Documentation and notice are still required unless a will explicitly narrows those duties, and even then the executor owes a duty of good faith. He asked whether I had received a copy of the will and inventory account statements or written distribution plans. I told him no. He didn't look surprised. "Then we start with procedure," he said. "No accusations. Paper only." He turned his monitor, opened a new email, and dictated while I typed verbatim in my own account, "Diane Parker. For transparency regarding Gloria Parker's estate, please provide the executed will, any codicils, current estate account statements, a complete asset inventory, all closing documents related to the Maple Street sale, and any proposed distribution plans. Please reply by the end of the week. Thank you." He told me to BCC him and not to change a single word. I hit send. We both watched the outbox flicker, then sat in the soft hiss of rain against the window. Less than 5 minutes later, my phone buzzed with a reply. I turned the screen so Caleb could read it. "Honey, this is all very complicated. Let's not stress over boring paperwork. Come over for dinner on Sunday and we'll talk." Caleb exhaled through his nose. "Classic stalling and reframing," he said. "It shifts the venue from paper to kitchen table where nothing is tracked. Do not engage outside writing." I opened a folder on my desktop titled Evidence, created a subfolder for email. Estate saved the sent message, the auto-acknowledgement, and my mother's response as separate PDFs with timestamps in the file names, then exported the chat screenshots to the same directory. Caleb watched the routine and gave a single approving nod. "From this point forward," he said, "you keep everything: emails, texts, call logs, voicemails, even calendar invites. If it isn't written, it didn't happen. If it is written, we can use it." I closed the laptop and stood. The rain outside had steadied into a thin curtain, and the room felt cooler than when I'd arrived. Caleb walked me to the door. "Expect more delays," he said, "but remember, process is leverage. Let the records work." I thanked him, slipped my phone into my pocket, and left with one clear task: preserve the trail and stay on paper. By the time I arrived at Dad Leonard's birthday BBQ, the backyard was already crowded with voices blending over the music and the smell of grilled food. Everyone filled the long table: Dad at the grill, Mom arranging cutlery, Kelsey tying her kids' shoes, and Brianna tapping endlessly on her phone. I took a seat without offering a greeting, keeping my expression neutral. The timing had to be right. When the food was served and everyone relaxed into casual chatter, I spoke clearly enough for all of them to hear. "We're going to talk about the group chat." The entire table froze. Mom's shoulders tensed. Dad lowered the grill spatula, and Kelsey let out a quick breath, as if she had been waiting for this, but hoping it wouldn't come. Kelsey jumped in first, eyebrows lifted. "Quinn, seriously. Today it's Dad's birthday." I kept my tone even. "I'm not the one who created a secret chat. You did that without me." The air tightened instantly. Kelsey straightened in her chair, defensive rising fast. "College isn't cheap. I'm trying to take care of my kids. If part of the estate helps me do that, I don't see the problem. Before I could respond, Brianna leaned her elbows onto the table, her voice edged with annoyance. My studio isn't going to fund itself, Quinn. I need capital. You already have a steady job. You'll be fine without a portion. Their excuses came out smooth practiced, like they had rehearsed the lines long before I confronted them. Dad finally stepped away from the grill, eyes sharp. Why are you making this into something bigger than it is? This is a family matter. We're handling it. You're handling it behind my back, I said. There's a difference. Mom released a soft sigh, the patronizing kind she used whenever she wanted to paint me as unreasonable. Sweetheart, don't dramatize things. You take everything so personally. I looked from one face to another, letting the silence grow heavy. I saw every message I said plainly. I know exactly what you wrote about me. No yelling, no shaking hands, just facts. Dad's patience snapped. Enough. Don't spoil the mood. It's your father's birthday. The message was clear. Their comfort mattered more than honesty. I pushed my chair back, stood, and kept my voice steady. I'm leaving. No one reached for me. No one asked me to stay. I walked out past the string lights and chatter that suddenly felt painfully distant. Later that night, I opened my laptop and created a new document. I typed every detail, who said what, the tone, the excuses, the order of the conversation, each line sharp and organized. Then I saved it into the folder labeled Evidence, filed underneath timestamps and cloud backups. I wasn't going to let any part of this slip. By Monday morning, my inbox exploded with notifications the moment I logged in. Unread messages stacked on top of each other, all with the same subject line format: re-estate concerns. At first, I thought they were automatic replies, but when I opened the most recent one, I saw the truth. Someone had BCC'd me intentionally or by accident on an email thread where my own family was accusing me of demanding money and creating unnecessary tension. The wording was sharp, rehearsed, and clearly designed to paint me as unstable. As I scrolled down, I recognized the sender of one of the messages, a distant cousin, someone I barely interacted with. They had written, "I'm not getting involved, but Quinn pushing for a payout seems unfair. Let the parents handle it." I didn't push for anything. I hadn't even responded to a single estate-related email. They were inventing a version of me that suited their narrative. I switched tabs to Facebook out of instinct, unsure what I expected to find. That was when I saw it, Brianna's latest status, a vague but pointed post. "Some people thrive on drama," she'd written. "If your own family thinks you're toxic, maybe do some self-reflection." The comments were full of supportive emojis, sympathy messages, and backhanded advice from people who had no clue they were being manipulated. My name wasn't mentioned, but everyone in our circle would know exactly who she meant. A notification popped up right as I finished reading the post. It was a direct message from Aunt Linda. "Honey, what's going on? I just heard you're fighting over the inheritance. That doesn't sound like you. Is everything okay?" Her message wasn't cruel, just confused. She genuinely didn't know what to believe. That was what made it sting. I typed a response, deleted it, typed again, then deleted that too. Nothing felt appropriate. Explaining would sound defensive. Staying silent would let their version stand. Instead, I took a screenshot of everything: the Facebook post, the email thread, even the message from Aunt Linda, and saved them into the evidence folder. After a moment of stillness, I forwarded the entire collection to Caleb with a short message. "This is escalating," he replied in less than 5 minutes. "On a call. Give me 30 minutes. That was it. Direct, calm, ready. Exactly 28 minutes later, my phone rang. His voice carried a steady edge. "I've read everything. They're trying to build a story about you being difficult. If they escalate this, you'll look like the aggressor. We're not letting that happen." "What do we do?" I asked. "We respond," he said. "Legally and professionally." He drafted a letter while I stayed on the line, hearing the faint clicks of his keyboard. This will be sent to your mother, he said. Firm, not hostile. It outlines that we are aware of the estate activity, that you have been excluded from the process, and that continued misrepresentation of your intentions could be grounds for legal action. He finished typing. I'm adding one more line, he muttered. A settlement figure. $35,000. Enough that they feel pressure, not enough to ignite war. My breath stilled. Will they respond? They'll panic, he said. And people in panic make fast decisions. He hit send. I watched the screen, the sent confirmation glowing back at me like the start of a fault line spreading beneath their feet. By midday at the office, my phone started ringing again, vibrating against my desk with the same persistence I'd been trying to ignore for days. When I saw Mom calling, I stepped into an empty conference room and answered without enthusiasm. Her voice came in tight and clipped. Quinn, what are you doing? Why would you involve a lawyer? You're making this so much worse. I kept my tone controlled. I responded because you excluded me. She sighed loudly as if I were the unreasonable one. Don't twist things. Families don't need legal threats. You're escalating something that should have stayed simple. Just drop it. We can talk ourselves. There was no talk happening, I said. You made decisions without me. She ignored that entirely. Just stop the nonsense. Don't embarrass us. Tell your lawyer to back off before it gets ugly. I didn't answer her request. She wasn't calling to listen. She was calling to intimidate. When the silence stretched, she ended with "Fix this, Quinn," and hung up, leaving the weight of her expectation hanging like a command. I returned to my desk, but before I could sit, my phone buzzed again. Dad this time. His tone was strangely casual when I picked up. Hey, kiddo, quick thing. Can you log into my retirement account and take a look? Something's off with the contributions. I need your help sorting it out. For years, I had been the free tech support, tax support, finance support, whatever they needed. But now the ask hit differently. I took a breath and said, I can't help with that. He sounded confused. What? Why not? I'm no longer providing support for family accounts, I said plainly. You'll need to contact customer service. The pause on his end cracked into frustration. So now you're punishing us. Really, I'm establishing boundaries, I replied. That's it. He muttered something under his breath, disappointment, irritation, then hung up without a goodbye. My hands didn't even shake. For the first time, it felt like the balance of power had shifted, even if they didn't realize it yet. I sat down, opened my email, and drafted a formal message addressed to both of my parents. It was short, professional, and unambiguous. Effective immediately, I will no longer provide unpaid technical, financial, or administrative support for any family accounts or records. Please direct all future inquiries to the appropriate service providers. This decision is final. I reread it once, then hit send. No explanation, no apology. Not 5 minutes later, Caleb called. The moment I answered, he said, Your family is scrambling. Already? Oh. Yes. The settlement letter rattled them. They're calling each other, copying the wrong people on emails, asking questions they should have asked months ago. They're terrified you'll pursue this further. I leaned back in my chair. What happens now? They'll try to regain control, Caleb said, but their panic works in your favor. Every mistake they make becomes more evidence for us. There was something steadying about his tone, a confirmation that I wasn't imagining the chaos unfolding on their end. He continued, Just keep documenting. Don't engage emotionally. Let them unravel on their own. The call ended, and I looked at my screen, my inbox still blinking with unread messages. For the first time, I didn't feel dread. I felt clarity. When the deadline for a response finally came, everything moved faster than I expected. I was in the middle of reviewing a client project when my phone buzzed with a bank notification. At first, I thought it was just another automated alert until I saw the amount. $35,000. A wire transfer. The sender's name left no room for interpretation. Diane Parker. My mother had sent the settlement without a single word. A second notification followed right after an email from Caleb. They've accepted the settlement, he wrote. Wire confirmed. Next step, the release. His timing was uncanny as usual, like he already knew I was staring at the payment on my screen. He called minutes later. I've drafted your release document, he said. It formally acknowledges receipt of the settlement and states that you waive future claims to the disputed portions of the estate. Standard procedure. Read it carefully, but there's nothing unusual. I opened the attachment while he stayed on the line. The wording was straightforward, clean, and legally airtight. No emotional language, no room for reinterpretation, just a formal closure of the issue they tried so hard to bury. I initialed each section and signed the final page electronically. Good, Caleb said. I'll send it to them along with confirmation that the matter is resolved. After that, you're done with anything involving the estate. The phrase done with the estate sat heavily on me, not sad, not relieving, just final. The kind of finality that had been forming for years, long before the group chat revealed itself. Once the legal side was wrapped, there was still one task I needed to finish, something completely separate, something symbolic. I opened a blank email addressed to my entire immediate family. No greetings, no soft openings, no buffer. I wrote, attached is a consolidated guide containing information you have asked me for over the years. This includes FAFSA instructions for Kelsey's children, self-employment tax guidance for Brianna, steps for managing retirement account beneficiaries, logins and reset instructions for prior shared accounts, notes on past filings that may require updates. Effective immediately, I will no longer serve as a resource for any financial, administrative, academic, or technical matters. Please remove my access from all shared folders, cloud drives, and family accounts. This request is mandatory. I attached a PDF with everything organized neatly. Years of unpaid labor condensed into a single document so none of them could claim they were stranded without me. Before sending, I reread the email one more time to ensure the tone was neutral and professional. No bitterness, no explanations, just boundaries. I clicked send. There was no immediate response, no follow-up questions, no sarcastic remark from Brianna, no guilt-laced message from Mom, no attempt from Dad to soften the moment with a joke. Just silence, an abrupt, heavy silence that felt more honest than anything they had said to me in months. Caleb emailed again, later that afternoon. They've acknowledged receipt of the release. No additional comments. Of course there weren't. They had gotten what they wanted: silence, control, the ability to move on without confrontation. What they didn't realize was that I had gotten something far more valuable: distance, the kind that never comes undone. A year later, on a thin, misty Boston morning, I unlocked the front door of my print studio and stepped inside before the city fully woke. The quiet hum of the machines, the smell of fresh paper stock, the neat rows of completed client orders, everything felt grounded, earned, and unmistakably mine. The studio had grown steadily over the last 12 months, picking up local contracts, university work, and small business clients who came back because I delivered exactly what I promised. It wasn't loud success, but it was steady, honest, and untouched by the chaos I had left behind. While updating the day's schedule, I checked my phone and saw a notification from a financial aid website forwarded to me by a coworker as a funny office anecdote. Out of curiosity, I clicked through and froze. A public bulletin listed recent FAFSA processing delays. Under common issues, I saw a familiar situation. Families who miss the priority deadline are ineligible for a portion of aid. My mind immediately went to Kelsey because I knew exactly which deadline she had always relied on me to remind her about. She had filed late. The consequence was real and non-negotiable. Her kids would lose a chunk of support for the year, and there was nothing anyone could do to reverse it. Not long after a tax newsletter I subscribed to pinged with a new update. Buried in the article was a section about self-employment penalties, specific fines for failing to submit quarterly tax payments. Brianna came to mind instantly. She had never once filed correctly without my help. I clicked the IRS bulletin linked in the article. It confirmed a penalty amount tied to late reporting. She must have spent the last year trying to piece her filings together alone, and the numbers made it clear she hadn't succeeded. The fines were inevitable. Later that week, Dad unintentionally confirmed his own consequences when he sent a mass family message, one I was still technically included in because no one had bothered to update the group settings. "Does anyone know why my retirement account locked me out for 7 days?" he wrote. "Customer service says multiple incorrect password attempts." He didn't mention me, but the implication was obvious. He had grown used to me fixing everything. Without me, the system had folded in on him. I wasn't angry. I wasn't triumphant. Mostly I felt finished. Those issues weren't my responsibility anymore, and the distance made that truth feel clean. The final message came on a quiet Sunday evening while I was closing out invoices. Mom texted, "Can we talk? I think enough time has passed. Let's reset. I miss you." I read it slowly, letting the words settle. Months ago, a message like that might have cracked something in me: guilt, hope, fear, obligation. Now it felt like an invitation to reopen a wound I had finally stitched shut. I typed my response carefully. "I'm glad you reached out, but I'm not interested in revisiting old dynamics. I hope you're well, and I hope things work out. I won't be rejoining the family conversations. Please respect this boundary." I hit send. There was no reply. I turned off the studio lights, locking the door behind me. The air outside was cool and soft, the kind that made every sound clearer. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel pulled in 5 directions. No secret tasks, no emotional traps, no silent expectations. Freedom, I realized, isn't something you earn from other people. It arrives the moment you finally decide where your boundaries begin and who no longer gets to cross them.